Hey everyone, welcome to the Healthy Teams podcast, a service provided by Colorado Health Insurance Brokers. This is a show where we explore what it really takes to create teams that thrive both professionally and personally. Let's dive into it.
I am so ready to get into this one.
Me too. Okay, so I want you to imagine something. Imagine your company spends, let's say, $10,000 a year on this incredibly comprehensive benefits package for you.
Right, which sounds amazing on paper.
Exactly, on paper. But because of, the specific stage of life you're in, you only actually extract about $200 of value from it.
Ouch. Yeah, that's a lot of wasted capital.
It is. And if you multiply that massive inefficiency across an entire workforce, you start to see why traditional corporate benefits are just, well, they're fundamentally breaking under the pressure of the modern world.
They really are.
So today we're opening up a stack of industry guides and reports. We're looking at data from sources like Forma and Take Command to unpack this whole concept of lifestyle spending accounts, or LSAs.
Which is such a massive shift in how organizations are building healthier teams.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out the underlying mechanics. Like, what are these accounts? How do they fit into the ecosystem alongside traditional benefits like HRAs and HSAs, and why are they the future?
It really is a critical structural shift. I mean, for decades, the benefits playbook was essentially just a fixed menu.
Yeah, totally inflexible.
Exactly. You built a package, you rolled it out on day one, and it was identical for every single person in the building, regardless of whether they were, 22 or 62.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because we really need to start by looking at why that fixed menu approach is actually failing today's workforce.
Right.
The sources point out that traditional benefits are just incredibly rigid. For instance, a company might invest heavily in providing this top-tier vision insurance.
Which is great if you need glasses.
Exactly. It looks great on a recruiting brochure, but if an employee has perfect eyesight, that line item is, well, it's functionally useless to them.
Yeah, completely. Or let's say the company negotiates this massive corporate discount at a major indoor gym chain.
Right, like a big box gym.
Yep. But if an employee prefers, trail running or doing yoga in their living room or riding a bike, they aren't extracting any value there.
The company is spending the money, but the employee isn't feeling the benefit at all.
Which introduces the core problem here, which is perceived value. If an employee doesn't use the benefit, they mentally assign a $0 value to it.
Wow, yeah. Even if the employer is paying a premium for it.
Exactly. And this brings us to the lifestyle spending account. Architecturally, an LSA is an employer-funded post-tax benefit.
Okay.
The employer establishes a set allowance. The data shows this usually lands between like $500 and $2,000 annually, and that money is earmarked for personal well-being expenses.
And here's the kicker, right?
Right. The crucial mechanism here is that those expenses are entirely chosen by the employee.
That choice factor completely upends the traditional model. I mean, it sounds like traditional benefits are a strict set menu at a restaurant where you're forced to take the sides they give you.
Whether you like them or not.
Right. Whereas an LSA is like a wellness buffet where you only put what you actually want on your plate.
I love that analogy. And that wellness buffet approach fundamentally changes the financial risk for the employer, too, through a mechanism called notional spending.
Notional spending. Okay, break that down for me.
So with traditional insurance, the employer pays the premium, whether the employee ever visits a doctor or not.
Right. It's just a sunk cost.
Exactly. But an LSA operates on a reimbursement model. The employer only pays for what is actually consumed.
Okay, let me make sure I'm tracking the math on this. If a company allocates, say, $1,000 per employee for an LSA,
Yep.
but a specific employee only submits receipts for $800 over the course of the calendar year, the company isn't out that remaining $200.
Correct. The company simply doesn't spend it. They aren't pre-funding some account that just sits dormant. They're reimbursing actual desired spending as it happens.
That is huge for the bottom line.
It is. What's fascinating here is how this autonomy translates into behavioral psychology. When you look at the reports, this freedom of choice leads to a 20 to 50% higher utilization rate compared to traditional benefit programs.
Wait, really? A 50% jump is massive.
It is a staggering leap. But if you think about the underlying psychology, it makes complete sense. It's the endowment effect in action.
Oh, right, where people value things more when they have ownership over them.
Exactly. When people are allowed to curate the benefits that actually map to their real everyday frictions and passions, They don't just use them more frequently. They develop a true emotional investment in the program.
They actually care about it.
Yes. They feel seen as individuals, and by extension, they develop a deeper loyalty to the employer who's providing that autonomy.
That makes total sense. But naturally, when you introduce a shiny new benefit account, I feel like the immediate panic from an employee is, wait, does this replace my health insurance? Am I losing my flexible spending account or my health savings account?
Oh, yeah, that's always the first question. But the sources are incredibly clear on this, and the answer is a resounding no.
Okay, go ahead.
The LSA is not a replacement for traditional health accounts. It's actually designed to fill the gaps that those accounts legally have to leave behind.
Got it.
To understand how they pair together, you kind of have to look at the fundamental philosophical difference in how they're regulated. Accounts like FSAs, HSAs, and HRAs are strictly bound by IRS Section 213 billing.
Which is the tax code that strictly defines medical care, right?
Yes. Under 213 billing, medical care is explicitly defined as treating or preventing a specific diagnosed disease or illness.
So it has to be clinical.
Entirely focused on clinical care, yes.
Yeah.
It is the safety net for when something goes wrong with your body. LSAs, on the other hand, are engineered for the holistic side of the equation. They exist to fund the daily lifestyle habits that prevent illness in the first place.
So the sources outline a scenario that perfectly illustrates this handover between the two accounts. We can call it the yoga and ankle situation.
Yes, this is a great example.
So imagine you're an employee who wants to proactively manage your stress and cardiovascular health. You use your employer-funded LSA to buy a smartwatch to track your daily steps, and you pay for a monthly membership at a local yoga studio.
Right. And the IRS would never allow you to use a pre-tax HSA or FSA for those purchases because a yoga membership isn't treating a specific clinical diagnosis.
It's just general healthy living.
Exactly.
But let's say you're in the middle of a difficult yoga pose, you lose your balance, and you severely sprain your ankle.
Ouch.
Yeah. Suddenly, you've crossed the line from holistic wellness into a clinical medical issue. Now, you shift over to your pre-tax HSA or your HRA to pay for the urgent care visit, the X-rays, and the subsequent physical therapy sessions required to heal the sprain.
Right. So the LSA funded the daily preventative habit, and the traditional accounts stepped in for the clinical intervention. They worked perfectly in tandem.
But wait, if LSAs are post-tax, meaning the reimbursements are treated as taxable income on my W-2, doesn't that fundamentally hurt the employee?
Bro.
Let's break down the math real quick. Yeah. Say my employer reimburses me $1,000 for my wellness expenses over the year. If I'm sitting in the 24% tax bracket, I'm effectively only netting $760 after taxes.
Ooh.
So why wouldn't I just demand my employer put that $1,000 into a pre-tax FSA where I save that 20 to 40% right off the top?
It is a completely valid mathematical objection. And honestly, it's usually the very first pushback HR teams hear.
I bet.
But you have to weigh what you are trading that tax efficiency for. The trade-off is unhindered freedom.
Meaning I can buy whatever I want.
Exactly. While an FSA saves you income tax, its utility is aggressively narrow. You cannot use a tax-advantaged FSA to buy a pair of running shoes. You can't use it to pay for doggy daycare or a meditation app subscription or a consultation with a financial planner. Unless a doctor writes a letter of medical necessity declaring that you need doggy daycare to treat a specific disease, those funds are locked.
Huh. Good luck getting that letter. So the IRS acts as a very strict bouncer at the club for your pre-tax accounts. They're checking IDs at the door of your HSA, and if your expense isn't purely clinical, you aren't getting in.
That is the exact dynamic. So for discretionary wellness, the everyday investments that actually lower your cortisol levels and make your life manageable, the flexibility of the LSA is entirely worth the income tax hit.
Because it's still free money, essentially.
Right. Yes, you are paying taxes on the money, but it is still net new employer-provided capital that you get to deploy toward your actual needs. Furthermore, from an administrative standpoint, keeping these accounts post-tax and non-clinical saves the employer from a massive compliance burden.
I actually noticed that. The sources heavily emphasize the difference in compliance, specifically mentioning ERISA and HIPAA. Let's drill into the mechanism of why that matters.
Think about the infrastructure required to manage clinical benefits. If a benefit is treating a medical condition, it falls under strict federal regulations like ERISA, HIPAA, and the Affordable Care Act.
Right. The paperwork is endless.
Endless. The employer suddenly has to protect highly sensitive private health data, which requires expensive, complex compliance architecture.
But with LSAs?
Because LSAs are explicitly classified as lifestyle perks, you completely strip away that legal liability. Reimbursing an employee for a state park pass or a budgeting app doesn't trigger HIPAA, which makes the LSA incredibly lightweight for HR teams to deploy.
Wow, that's a massive win for HR. Moving away from the tax code, though, let's look at how this flexibility actually functions in the real world to support a highly diverse workforce.
Well, this is the best part.
Yeah, rather than just reading down a list of eligible categories, let's look at how two totally different employees might utilize this benefit over a single weekend.
Okay, yeah. Let's take a 25-year-old software engineer who just joined the company. Their weekend priorities might be heavily skewed toward physical wellness and debt management.
Makes sense.
They might use their LSA allowance to pay for a high-intensity CrossFit membership, or perhaps they use the financial wellness category to offset their monthly student loan payment.
Meanwhile, you have a 55-year-old project manager on the exact same team.
Right.
They paid off their student loans 2 decades ago, and they aren't interested in CrossFit.
Definitely not.
Their weekend might involve using the family care category of their LSA to pay for a specialized elder care service for their aging parents, and then using the mental wellness category to book a massage to decompress from the stress of caregiving.
Exactly. You also had to factor in the geographic divide of the modern workforce.
Oh, true. Remote versus in office.
Right. A remote employee living in a rural area might desperately need to use the professional development category to purchase a high-end standing desk or pay for a coding boot camp.
And the person going into the office.
Conversely, the employee commuting into the downtown headquarters just wants a stipend to cover their exorbitant daily parking fees or public transit passes. The architecture of the LSA natively adapts to all of these scenarios without the employer having to launch 4 different separate benefit programs.
It also provides a really profound mechanism for supporting diversity, equity, and inclusion.
It absolutely does.
Benefit personalization allows employees from different cultural backgrounds to fund wellness practices that align with their specific traditions. And it allows individuals with adaptive needs to purchase non-clinical equipment that specifically helps them navigate their day more comfortably.
It perfectly operationalizes the concept of equity. Equality is giving everyone a pair of size 9 shoes. Equity is giving everyone a shoe budget so they can buy the size and style that actually fits them.
Oh, I love that. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. All of this human-centric flexibility translates into hard, unavoidable metrics for the business.
The ROI is undeniable.
Yeah, the reports explicitly state that companies offering flexible benefits experience a 26% higher retention rate than those clinging to rigid traditional programs.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, a 26% jump in retention is a game changer for the bottom line, especially when you calculate the cost of replacing talent.
It's massively expensive to hire new people.
Exactly. But we have to look at the causality behind that statistic. Why does retention spike so dramatically? It isn't just because the company is handing out cash for running shoes. It is because of the psychological signaling.
So the benefit itself is communicating the company culture.
Precisely. It signals to current and prospective employees that the organization is progressive and genuinely employee-centered. In a highly competitive talent market, everyone is offering the standard health plan and a 401k match.
Right. Those are just baseline expectations at this point.
An LSA becomes a massive competitive edge in talent acquisition because candidates remember the employer who offered to fund their specific passion projects or alleviate their childcare costs far more than they remember a fractional difference in dental copays.
Wow, yeah.
It creates a really sticky relationship between the talent and the organization.
Okay, but if I'm an HR director or a business leader listening to this right now, I am probably sweating at the thought of the logistics.
Oh, I'm sure.
Giving employees total freedom sounds like an absolute administrative nightmare. How is a lean HR team supposed to track and verify receipts for 500 different employees buying everything from doggy daycare to coding classes?
Well, the good news is they don't have to do it manually.
Thank goodness.
No.
But the sources highlight that maximizing the value of an LSA is surprisingly strategic and doesn't require a bloated HR headcount, right?
Yeah, because it is highly automated today. Most companies use third-party platforms that handle the receipt verification and compliance automatically. But where the HR strategy really comes into play is in how the employer designs the structural rules of the LSA, particularly around rollover policies.
Okay, this is where we can assume our listeners understand the sheer frustration of a traditional flexible spending account.
Oh, the dreaded FSA.
Right. With an FSA, the government mandates the parameters. You are legally capped on contributions, and you face that strict use it or lose it penalty at the end of the year, or maybe you get a meager mandated carryover limit.
It's rigid because the IRS dictates it.
Exactly. But with an LSA, the employer is entirely in the driver's seat.
Because the employer sets the policy, they can weaponize these rollover rules as a strategic behavioral nudge.
Oh, that's clever.
Right. A company could choose to offer unlimited rollovers, encouraging their workforce to save up their monthly allowances for a massive, high-impact purchase like outfitting a premium home gym or paying for an expensive executive leadership certification.
Or, on the flip side, if the CFO needs to tightly control the cash flow, the company can design a strict use-it-or-lose-it monthly policy to protect the budget, ensuring they only reimburse immediate recurring habits.
Exactly. They can also land in the middle and allow a 50% carryover. The point is, the design of the benefit can be calibrated to drive the specific corporate behavior the leadership team wants to see.
That makes total sense.
And because the employer controls the parameters, they have access to an incredible data feedback loop.
It's essentially treating company culture like a software product.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, instead of waiting for a massive annual factory reset, which is what open enrollment usually feels like, employers can look at the monthly usage data like user bug reports and constantly patch and upgrade the benefit experience in real time.
That is an incredibly accurate metaphor. Think about it. If the HR team reviews the data dashboard in June and notices that almost all the claims submitted under the childcare category are maxed out, they don't have to guess how their employees are feeling.
Right. The data clearly signals a critical pain point in the workforce.
Exactly. The leadership team can then make a targeted, mid-year decision to increase funding specifically for that category.
And on the flip side, if they notice that the professional development funds are sitting completely dormant, it doesn't necessarily mean the workforce is lazy or that the benefit is poorly designed.
No, it usually just signals a communication gap. The company might just need to run an internal education campaign clarifying what qualifies as an eligible expense in that category.
Or maybe they need to expand the parameters to include different types of learning platforms.
Exactly. The LSA provides a live telemetry feed on what the workforce actually values,
which completely revolutionizes how benefits are promoted internally. Because let's be honest, traditional open enrollment is high stress.
It's the worst.
You make your choices in November, you lock them in, and you essentially ignore them for 12 months. But because an LSA is flexible and immediate, it allows HR to run year-round seasonal campaigns that keep the benefit and the employer's investment top of mind.
Yes. You can map the communication directly to the seasonal rhythms of your employees' lives.
Like what? Give me some examples.
So in January, you might run a campaign highlighting the physical wellness reimbursements to align with New Year's resolutions.
Right.
In early spring, you send targeted reminders that the LSA can cover tax preparation services or financial advising.
Oh, that's smart. And as summer approaches, you pivot the messaging to remind working parents about funding for summer camps.
Exactly. And then in November, as the holidays approach and stress peaks, you run a campaign focused on mental health, promoting meditation apps, and stress management resources.
You're basically constantly meeting the employee exactly where they are, intercepting their specific seasonal stressor with a tangible solution.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? It means that for a modern organization, an LSA isn't just a line item expense categorized under HR overhead. It's a highly strategic, trackable investment in the actual operational health of your team.
And it is an investment with a measurable return. Organizations can track retention metrics among heavy LSA users versus non-users. They can run targeted engagement surveys to isolate how the autonomy of the program affects job satisfaction.
It's not a guessing game anymore.
No. You are no longer throwing a generalized benefits package at the wall and hoping it helps. You are deploying targeted capital to resolve actual employee friction.
We've seen throughout this deep dive how LSAs adapt perfectly to the current complexities of our workforce, allowing us to build our own wellness plates, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the framework is so inherently flexible, it leaves you wondering how these accounts will evolve over the next decade.
Oh, for sure.
As the lines between our professional output, our personal wellness, and our core identities continue to blur, what happens next? Could we eventually see LSA structures designed to fund multi-month career sabbaticals?
That would be amazing.
Right. Or what about subsidizing experimental preventative wellness technologies that haven't even hit the mainstream market yet? Or could companies use these accounts to fund climate-friendly lifestyle choices, like subsidizing a switch to solar energy or outfitting a home for electric
The
vehicles?
sky is really the limit.
Exactly, because the definition of wellness keeps expanding, the potential applications for this model are virtually limitless. It is going to be a truly fascinating space to watch.
Definitely.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to the Healthy Teams podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe and share it with your team or anyone who's passionate about great workplace culture. If we can help with your team's benefits, visit us at coloradohealthinsurancebrokers.com. We'll be back soon with more conversations to help you build stronger, healthier teams. Until next time, stay well and lead well.